Hello everyone, this is R.S. Miller at theendtimenews.org, and today is April 27th, 2012. According to the U.S. Geological Survey, we've had about 13 earthquakes at the time of this recording, with a total of 7,636 over the past 30 days. In an article reported by Clevesine on Tuesday, April 24th, 2012, there are 28,613 dead fish in the Rocky River. The Ohio Division of Wildlife got a call on Sunday from a fisherman who told the agency they should probably come see the flood of fish carcasses in the Rocky River. When they arrived, they discovered a waterway filled with dead aqua life. The fish kill is still under investigation. Today, the ODW announced the final death toll, 28,613 fish, along with other species. But the process of counting the dead was merely the first step. The interesting part in terms of going after whoever was responsible for whatever caused the mass deaths, that's about as specific as we can get right now, comes next. Folks, that's 28,613 dead fish. That doesn't count the dead birds, thousands upon thousands of dead birds around the world, dead cattle, other dead fish, dead dolphins, disappearing bees. Do you think that just maybe someone's trying to get our attention? That these are all signs of the last days? Something to think about. Dated for April 9th, 2012, Russia is massing troops on Iran's northern border and waiting for a Western attack. The Russian military anticipates that an attack will occur on Iran by the summer and has developed an action plan to move Russian troops through neighboring Georgia to stage in Armenia, which borders on the Islamic Republic, according to the informed Russian sources. Russian Security Council head Viktor Orzorov said that Russian General Military Headquarters has prepared an action plan in the event of an attack on Iran. Dmitry Rogozin, who recently was the Russian ambassador to the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, or NATO, warned against an attack on Iran. Iran is our neighbor, Rogozin said. If Iran is involved in any military action, it is a direct threat to our security. Rogozin is now the deputy Russian prime minister and is regarded as anti-Western. He oversees Russia's sector. Russian Defense Ministry sources say that the Russian military doesn't believe that Israel has sufficient military assets to defeat Iranian defenses, and further believes that U.S. military action will be necessary. The implication of preparing to move Russian troops not only is to protect its own vital regional interests, but possibly to assist Iran in the event of such an attack. Sources add that a Russian military buildup in the region could result in the Russian military potentially engaging Israeli forces, U.S. forces, or both. Informed sources say that the Russians have warned unpredictable consequences in the event Iran is attacked, with some Russians saying that the Russian military will take part in the possible war because it would threaten its vital interest in the region. You guys can read the rest of this story if you care to do so. I'll put the link in the bottom. Now, feeding off of the previous story, here's an irony. Russia is sending troops to the U.S. to learn American military tactics. Russian paratroopers will meet with American forces next month for an unprecedented military exercise in Colorado, according to RT News. It's the first time Russian service members will be invited into the United States for a joint drill. A Russian airborne task force will exercise with U.S. Special Service weapons an announcement by Russian Defense Minister spokesperson Colonel Alexander Kucherenko revealed. The official purpose of the joint training is to practice airborne tactics and anti-terror operations, such as dropping into a hostile area and conducting a terror camp raid. Soldiers of the two countries will hold a tactical airborne operation, including reconnaissance of an imaginary terrorist camp and raid, said Kucherenko. Okay, there's a little bit more to this story, and I'll let you guys, come up here and check it out for yourselves. U.S. bid to defuse Egyptian-Israeli tensions derailed by Egyptian Islamists. April 24th, the Obama administration stepped in to damp down the military friction developing between Jerusalem and Cairo, which were fanned further this week by a dispute over the suspension of Egyptian gas to Israel. Earlier that day, the chairman of Egypt's Supreme Military Council, Field Marshal Mohammed Tantawi, said, "If anyone comes near Egypt's border, we will break their leg." Egypt's Second Army Chief General Mohammed Higazi added, "Aggressors should reconsider before thinking of attacking any part of Egyptian territory." Their remarks, delivered during a live-fire exercise conducted by the Second Egyptian Army in Sinai, were clearly addressed to Israel and the IDF. In Washington, Depkafal's source report that President Barack Obama, Defense Secretary Leon Panetta, and Secretary of State Hillary Clinton were warned by their military and intelligence analysts that a military clash between Egypt and Israel was hovering on the brink. There were two potential triggers: the gas issue, which suddenly surfaced this week, and advance warnings that cyanide Bedouin Palestinian extremists from Gaza, some from Gaza, and Al-Qaeda gangs were plotting terrorist attacks and protest acts for Israel's 64th Independence Day this Thursday, April 26th. Their object: to whip up a storm to blow up the 1979 Egyptian-Israeli peace accords. Their plans entailed sending terrorists across the Egyptian Sinai border for attacks on Israelis to generate Israeli military incursions into Egyptian territory in hot pursuit of the perpetrators. This almost happened on April 5th after a Palestinian Popular Resistance Committee's gang fired 2 Grad missiles at Elliot from Sinai. The IDF was about to send a small special force across into Sinai for the first time since the peace pacts were signed 33 years ago to waylay the missile team as it headed back to the Gaza Strip. Netanyahu and Barak vetoed the incursion. Wednesday, the U.S. bid to temper tensions was abruptly overturned. Section 8 of the peace accord strictly binds Egypt to maintain and honor the war memorials for the Israelis who fell in battle in Sinai. On Israel's Memorial Day for Fallen Soldiers on the eve of its 64th Independence Day, Egyptian Islamist and Bedouin groups announced they would advance en masse on the Israeli memorials, erase the Israeli names of Israeli soldiers, and fill in the names of Egyptian fallen men. They are counting on Egyptian military and security forces, which have pretty much lost control of the situation here, failing to guard the Israeli sites and hope by their affront to Israel to plunge relations into deep crisis. That said, Israel too must share for some of the blame for the rising tension this week. Most particularly, remarks made by Foreign Minister Avigdor Lieberman. In an interview he gave Monday, April 23rd, during an official visit to Baku, Azerbaijan, Lieberman declined to repudiate his previous remark that the threat to Israel coming from Egypt was even greater than the threat from Iran. Nor did the minister confirm or deny reports that the foreign minister had handed Prime Minister Netanyahu a working paper recommending the reconstitution of the pre-peace pact Southern Army and deploy its 7 divisions on the Egyptian border, as they were during the decades when the two countries were at war. Only one IDF combat division currently guards the border. It too was only posted there after terrorists crossed into Sinai on August 26, 2011, attacked Elliott Highway traffic, and murdered 8 Israelis. Chief of Staff Lieutenant Benny Gantz recommended at the time that the border with Egypt was no longer a frontier of peace, but of menace. On Tuesday, April 24th, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said in a radio interview ahead of Independence Day that the Sinai had degenerated into a Wild West land rife with Iranian-aided gangs who smuggled arms and attacked Israel. He expressed hope that the next Egyptian president, whomsoever is elected, will opt for upholding the peace pact with Israel because it is in the best interest of both countries. The Middle East is just a smoldering ember waiting for a breeze to come along and ignite it. It's also in Bible prophecy, Egypt and Israel, Russia, the Gog and Magog. That's where the Battle of Armageddon takes place. So keeping your eyes on the Middle East is a worthwhile project. 9 dead in suicide attack in Syrian capital in Damascus. A suicide bomber killed 9 people and wounded 20 outside a central Damascus mosque on Friday, Syrian state television said, in another blow to a peace plan that the United Nations says President Bashar Assad has failed to honor. The blast ripped through worshippers at the Zayn al-Abidin Mosque, which was under heavy security for Friday's prayers, often a launch pad for anti-Assad protests, opposition activists said. State media said security officials were among the wounded. We had been trying to go pray in the area, but they stopped us at a checkpoint. Security weren't letting us in because there were usually protests there, one anti-Assad activist told Reuters in neighboring Lebanon. Then we heard the blast. It was so loud, and then ambulances came rushing past us, the activist added. I could see a few body parts and pieces of flesh on the road. The front of a restaurant looked destroyed. People were screaming. State television showed images of blackened flesh and mangled hand lying on the motorway underpass as soldiers and police cleared the area to make way for ambulance crews. A resident who spoke to security officials at the scene said a man had approached soldiers near the mosque and detonated a bomb belt when challenged. There was no immediate claim of responsibility. Earlier, a loud blast was heard in the capital's El Sinai district near a garage used by government buses and pro-Assad militiamen tasked with preventing demonstrations. Shopkeepers said the first blast hit a black Mercedes, which caught fire. The driver was wounded, but no one else was hurt. I'll put the link in the box below, and you can finish reading this story if you want to. Friends, no one knows the exact day nor hour the Lord will return, but if we watch, we will know when it is near. All signs are pointing to the soon coming of Jesus Christ, where he sets his foot upon the Mount of Olives. But before that comes the Battle of Armageddon. Even if this world system were to go on longer than we think, will you? We all have an appointment that can't be avoided. The Bible says, it has been appointed unto man once to die, and after that, the judgment. Are you saved? Follow the link below and pray the prayer with all sincerity, and you will be saved. God bless you all.